An elderly woman was invited to sing at a talent show as a joke, but her performance brought the crowd to its feet. When TV producers selected Beatrice for America's Spotlight, they were aiming for a light-hearted moment. They never anticipated what was about to unfold. The 68-year-old woman, dressed in a floral print, looked completely out of place on that huge stage. Everyone in the room braced for laughter, but everything changed the second she opened her mouth. Beatrice Caldwell adjusted her reading glasses, squinting at the crossword puzzle in the morning paper. Sunlight filtered through the lace curtains that had hung on her windows for over 3 decades. Her small apartment in Millfield, Ohio, wasn't fancy, but it was home. 7 letters, musical term for very loud, she murmured. Fortissimo. Her pen filled the squares confidently. At 68, Beatrice lived a simple, retired life. Mornings with coffee and puzzles, afternoons volunteering at the town library, Thursday nights spent singing alto at choir practice. She was never in the spotlight, always the support. The sharp ring of the phone broke her routine. "Hello," Beatrice said, brushing a silver blonde strand behind her ear. "Mrs. Caldwell, it's Martha from choir. Did you see the news? America's Spotlight auditions are happening at the convention center next Tuesday." Beatrice laughed. "Martha, you know those shows aren't for folks like us." "Nonsense, you have the loveliest voice I've ever heard. Even Pastor Williams says so." "I haven't sung solo in, well, I don't even remember," Beatrice replied, her fingers resting on a small music box beside her. It was the only memento from a dream she'd left behind. After the call, she examined the reflection in front of the bathroom mirror. The wrinkles around her eyes told stories of both happiness and pain. Her favorite floral dress fit looser than it once had. She started to hum, then let her voice rise. The warm, full sound filled the bathroom. For a fleeting moment, she wasn't a widow living quietly in a small apartment. She was young again, full of dreams, standing on her high school auditorium stage. Before everything changed. Before Professor Winters crushed her confidence with one harsh critique. "Technically correct, Miss Jenkins, but forgettable? You lack the spark that sets true performers apart." Even after 5 decades, his words still echoed. Beatrice fell silent, the melody fading. She had made peace with a quiet life, raising her daughter alone after losing her husband early, working as a school secretary until retirement. Music had become personal, tucked away in showers and church choirs. What she didn't know was that just 3 miles away, Martha was uploading a video to the America's Spotlight website. It was a clip she'd secretly recorded of Beatrice singing a solo last Easter when the lead soprano had fallen sick. Whether Beatrice liked it or not, her life was about to take a turn. 3 days later, her phone rang again. This time, the number on the screen was unfamiliar. "Hello, Mrs. Caldwell. This is Ryan Matthews from America's Spotlight. We received your audition video." Her heart jumped. "There must be a mistake. I didn't send in any video." Ryan laughed. "Well, someone sure did. A stunning version of Amazing Grace in what looks like a church. Was that you?" Her thoughts immediately turned to Martha. "Yes, but I didn't. Mrs. Caldwell, we'd like to invite you to perform on next week's show. Your voice has something special, perfect for a memorable TV moment." In the production office across town, Ryan muted the call and gave his colleague a sly smile. They needed this week's emotional underdog, the kind viewers love, but ultimately vote off. Older contestants were a ratings hit. "I don't know," Beatrice hesitated. "I haven't sung solo in decades." Exactly why this could inspire people. America loves a comeback. "I don't know. We'll take care of transportation, hotel accommodation, everything. Just one song, Mrs. Caldwell. What do you say?" After hanging up, Beatrice paced around her living room, caught between excitement and fear. She picked up the phone and called her daughter in Cincinnati. "Mom, that's incredible," Karen exclaimed. "You have to go for it." "At my age? I'll look ridiculous." "No, you'll look brave," Karen replied. "Remember what you always told me? Life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage." Beatrice smiled, hearing her wisdom echoed back. "That's Annius Nin, dear." "Well, it's still true. When Dad passed, you put everything aside for me. Your hopes, your life. Maybe this is the universe giving you another chance." That evening, Martha showed up at Beatrice's door with flowers and a sheepish look. "I should have asked first," she said, "but I've heard you sing when you thought no one was listening. The world deserves to hear that voice." Beatrice shook her head slightly. "I called them back. I'm going." Martha squealed and threw her arms around her. "You're going to be amazing." Neither of them knew that, back at the America's Spotlight office, Beatrice's file had already been marked with a small red flag, SE, sympathetic elimination. Her fate had been sealed before she even sang a note. The towering studio complex looked like a fortress as Beatrice arrived. Clutching her purse tightly, she followed a production assistant through a maze of hallways. "First time on TV?" the assistant asked, not looking up from her clipboard. "Is it that obvious?" Beatrice gave a nervous smile. "Don't worry, most contestants are. First stop, hair and makeup, then vocal coaching, then camera blocking." The makeup room was a hive of energy. Young faces getting retouches, dancers stretching, a girl strumming guitar riffs. Beatrice, in her simple blue dress with embroidered flowers, the same one from her granddaughter's baptism, felt entirely out of place. A makeup artist approached, scanning her face professionally. "Let's see what we can work with." 90 minutes later, Beatrice barely recognized her reflection. Her silver blonde hair was styled in soft curls, her lips were a fresh pink, and her eyes were subtly defined. "Not too much, I hope?" she asked shyly. "You look gorgeous, sweetie. Age-appropriate and camera-ready," the artist reassured her. In the rehearsal space, contestants warmed up under the sharp eye of Ryan Matthews, the producer who had called her. He moved through the room with calculated interest, offering occasional tips or nods of approval. When he got to Beatrice, he smiled, a bit too rehearsed. "Mrs. Caldwell, our golden girl, how are you feeling?" "A little overwhelmed, honestly." "That's completely normal," he said, patting her shoulder. "Just enjoy yourself. Audiences love authenticity." As he walked away, Beatrice caught him murmuring to another producer, "Perfect for the sympathy edit. The grandma everyone wishes they had." Her stomach dropped. Was that all she was? A feel-good filler? In the cafeteria, Beatrice sat alone until a young woman with purple hair and multiple piercings sat down beside her. "I'm Zoe. You're the church lady, right?" Beatrice gave a hesitant nod. "Don't let Ryan fool you," Zoe whispered. "I used to work backstage. They always pick one older contestant for laughs or tears, boost the ratings." The words stung, but Beatrice held her composure. "I see. What are you singing?" "At Last" by Etta James. Zoe's eyebrows lifted. "Whoa, bold choice. That's a tough one." "It was my husband's favorite," Beatrice said gently. "He used to say I sang it better than Etta herself." Zoe stood up with her tray. "Then prove them all wrong, church lady." Night had fallen outside the studio, but inside, final rehearsals carried on beneath harsh lights. Beatrice sat alone in her dressing room, staring at the sheet music in front of her. Only hours remained before the live broadcast. A knock at the door came just before Karen walked in. Her daughter had driven 3 hours to be there. "Mom, you look amazing," Karen said, embracing her tightly. "I feel like a fraud," Beatrice admitted. "The other contestants, they're so young and talented." Karen gently took her mother's hands. "Tell me what's bothering you." Beatrice's eyes drifted. "I keep hearing Professor Winter's voice. It's been 50 years, but being here brings it all back." "Your college music teacher? The one who told you to quit?" Beatrice nodded. "It was my final recital. I'd practiced for months. Afterwards, he called me into his office and said, 'You'll never have what it takes. Some people just aren't meant for the spotlight.'" Karen shook her head. "And you believed him?" "I was 20. What did I know?" Beatrice's voice trembled. "The next week, I dropped my music major, switched to education." "Mom," Karen said softly, hesitating before pulling out her phone. "I want to show you something." She played a video, the same church performance Martha had submitted. Beatrice watched herself singing, unaware she'd been recorded. "Look at their faces," Karen urged as the camera swept across teary-eyed churchgoers, their faces full of emotion. "That's what your voice does to people, Mom. It may not be technically perfect, but it's powerful." Beatrice's eyes welled with tears. "I don't know if I can do this." "You don't have to," Karen said, squeezing her hand. We can leave right now, but I think you'd regret it if you did. Just then, a production assistant peeked in. Mrs. Caldwell, 15 minutes to places. After Karen left, Beatrice closed her eyes, flooded by memories. Her husband's face when he first heard her sing, her toddler daughter drifting to sleep to lullabies, the church choir who said her harmonies gave them strength. Professor Winter's voice still lingered, but now it was joined by others. Martha's support, Zoe's challenge, Karen's faith. Beatrice opened her eyes and straightened her back. She'd spent 50 years hiding, behind choirs, shower walls, and self-doubt. Even if this was a setup, even if she failed spectacularly, she would do it on her own terms. She touched up her lipstick, smoothed her floral dress, and stepped into the hallway. Whatever came next, she would sing her truth. The stage of America's spotlight was meant to overwhelm. Blinding lights, a live audience of 1,200, 3 celebrity judges known for their biting critiques, and cameras capturing every detail. Backstage, contestants huddled like warriors awaiting battle. "You're 8th," a stage manager told Beatrice right after the teenage rock band, just before the opera singer. She nodded, her throat going dry. The first performer, a young acrobatic dancer, leaped onto the stage to roaring applause. Ryan Matthews appeared beside her, all shiny smiles and smooth TV charm. "Remember, Mrs. Caldwell, just be yourself. America loves authenticity." He'd said it before, but now Beatrice heard the emptiness behind the words. Performances blurred together. The teenage rock band's set ended in a storm of cheers, their energy electric. Then silence. The stage reset. The host stepped forward. "Up next, a grandmother from Ohio proving it's never too late to follow your dreams. Please welcome Beatrice Caldwell." Polite applause followed as Beatrice stepped forward. The microphone stand looked miles away. The lights blinded her, turning the crowd into a faceless void. She could feel the judgment, her floral dress, her spotted hands, her silver blonde hair. A camera zoomed in, close enough for her to hear its mechanical whir. "Good evening," she said. Beatrice's voice was barely a whisper. The microphone picked it up, amplifying her nervousness. Someone in the audience tittered. Another person coughed pointedly. "Mrs. Caldwell," the lead judge, a former boy band singer, spoke. "Tell us about yourself." "I'm Beatrice Caldwell, 68 years old, from Millfield, Ohio. And what brings you to our stage tonight?" She paused, considering the scripted answer the producers had suggested, something about fulfilling lifelong dreams and inspiring seniors everywhere. Instead, she simply said, "My friend Martha recorded me singing in church and submitted it without telling me." Genuine laughter rippled through the audience. Not mockery, but warm appreciation for her honesty. "Well, let's see what Martha saw in you," the judge smiled indulgently. "What will you be performing?" "At Last" by Etta James. The judges exchanged glances. It was a notoriously difficult song that had humbled many contestants half her age. The music began, those iconic opening strings swelling through the studio. Beatrice closed her eyes, letting the familiar melody wash over her. Her hands trembled slightly as she gripped the microphone stand. When she opened her eyes again, she wasn't seeing the judges or the audience. She was seeing Richard, her late husband, the night they danced to this song at their wedding. "At last," her voice emerged, tentative at first. In the control room, Ryan Matthews leaned forward. "Get ready for the reaction shots," he told the director. "This should be good." But then something unexpected happened. Beatrice's voice opened up on the second line, rich and full of emotion, carrying decades of life experience in every note. It wasn't a technically perfect voice, but it had something no vocal coach could teach: character. "My lonely days are over." The audience, expecting amusement, instead fell into complete silence. "Life is like a song," Beatrice sang. In the wings, Karen pressed her hands to her mouth, tears streaming down her face. On stage, Beatrice was transforming, standing taller, her hands leaving the microphone stand to gesture expressively. Her face was illuminated with joy as she approached the song's climax. Her voice soared, carrying all the passion of a woman who had loved, lost, and weathered life's storms, emerging stronger. "You are mine at last." The final note hung in the air, perfect, transcendent, undiminished by time. For 3 eternal seconds, silence reigned. Then the silence was shattered as the audience erupted in applause. It began with a single woman in the front row, clapping wildly. Her excitement spread like wildfire through the crowd until all 1,200 audience members were on their feet, clapping and cheering. Beatrice stood frozen, blinking against the bright lights. Was this really happening? The applause continued to grow, thunderous, punctuated by whistles and cheers. Someone shouted, "Bravo!" A young man on the balcony pressed his fingers to his mouth and released an ear-piercing whistle of admiration. In the control room, producers stared at the monitors in disbelief. "Are you seeing this?" Ryan Matthews whispered. Ryan Matthews whispered, his face pale. The segment, originally planned for gentle mockery, had backfired spectacularly. The lead judge, known for his cutting remarks and impossible standards, was on his feet, clapping emphatically. The female judge was openly weeping, mascara running down her cheeks. The third judge, a veteran music producer, simply shook his head in amazement. "Mrs. Caldwell," the lead judge finally spoke, once the applause died down enough for him to be heard. "I don't even know what to say. That was extraordinary." The female judge dabbed at her eyes. "You didn't just sing that song, you lived it. I felt every emotion, every word. That's what music is supposed to do." The third judge leaned forward. "I've heard hundreds of versions of that song. Yours stands among the very best, and I'm including Etta herself. The technical perfection of youth can't compare to the emotional depth you brought to it." In the wings, Karen sobbed openly. Martha, who had been given a special guest pass, grabbed the arm of a nearby stagehand. "That's my friend," she repeated over and over. "I told you." Zoe, the purple-haired contestant, stood slack-jawed by the curtain. "Holy shit," she whispered. On stage, Beatrice finally found her voice again. "Thank you," she said softly into the microphone. "Thank you so much." "No, Mrs. Caldwell," the lead judge replied. "Thank you for reminding us what this show is supposed to be about. Genuine talent, regardless of age or appearance." The host approached, handing Beatrice a tissue. She hadn't realized she was crying. "I think it's safe to say," the host announced, "that Beatrice Caldwell has earned her spot in the next round." Another roar from the audience confirmed his words. As Beatrice was escorted off stage, her legs barely supporting her, she passed Ryan Matthews. Their eyes met briefly. His expression was unreadable, but he gave her a small nod. Acknowledgement, perhaps even respect. In that moment, Professor Winter's voice in her head fell silent at last. The following morning, Beatrice's performance had gone viral. Clips appeared on news programs, social media platforms erupted with praise, and her phone wouldn't stop ringing. "Mom, you've got 3 million views already," Karen exclaimed, scrolling through her phone during breakfast in Beatrice's hotel room. "People are calling you the voice of experience and America's grandma." Beatrice buttered her toast with steady hands. The panic and insecurity of yesterday seemed to belong to another lifetime. "It's all rather overwhelming," she said quietly. A knock at the door revealed a beaming Ryan Matthews holding a bouquet. His chagrined expression couldn't quite hide his excitement. "Mrs. Caldwell," he began, "I owe you an apology and a thank you. Last night's ratings were our highest this season." She accepted the flowers with gracious dignity. "No apology necessary, Mr. Matthews. Sometimes being underestimated is a gift. It gives one the element of surprise." Ryan shifted uncomfortably. "We've received calls from 3 record labels this morning. They're interested in discussing opportunities with you." Beatrice's eyes widened. "At my age?" "As the judges said," he continued, "your voice has something unique, life experience that resonates with people. Would you be interested in exploring these options?" Later, as she prepared for her second appearance on the show, Beatrice was filled with wonder. Her life had changed in ways she never imagined possible. Beatrice found herself humming contentedly. Her phone chimed with a text message from an unfamiliar number. "Professor James Winters here. I'm 92 now, retired in Florida. Saw your performance last night. I was wrong about you all those years ago. Profoundly, unforgivably wrong. You were always extraordinary, I'm sorry." Beatrice read the message twice, then smiled softly. After 50 years, the wound could finally heal. In the mirror, she saw herself clearly, not just an old woman in a flower dress, but an artist whose time had finally come. Better late than never. If Beatrice's story touched your heart, remember, talent doesn't diminish with age. Sometimes it only grows richer. In a world quick to dismiss the elderly, we miss the wisdom, experience, and beauty they offer. What hidden talents are waiting to be discovered in your life? Share in the comments where you're watching from, and subscribe for more stories that remind us to look beyond appearances. Because sometimes the most remarkable performances come when we least expect them.